Western Kansas Prepper here with part 2 of my video response to BexarPrepper's question, what will cause SHTF? We're talking about environmental factors, talking about radiological events. And first of those, this is a map of the United States, and this shows you reactors, which would be in this country. You can see on the eastern seaboard, it's pretty much lined with them. And could one of these malfunction? We're told by scientists and engineers, probably not. The fail-safes may work, those type of things. Go for an extended period of time without power, though, I don't know. Again, we're looking for a Black Swan type event, something that they did not foresee. Now, I'm feeling pretty fortunate here on this front myself, because if you look at western Kansas, we've got one in Wolf Creek there. But pretty much this is the best area, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Utah. You don't have much. You'll have fallout, of course, coming across through the jet stream, but you won't have much of a local meltdown risk. Beyond that, the other risk, of course, and we're talking environmental risk still, would be an atomic bomb or missile coming from a military strike. This is a map. This is from the book, The War Atlas from the 80s. It's an interesting book, but out of print for a long time. But this shows you, what they thought at the time that the USSR and USA had targeted on each other. The the black targets being urban targets, the red targets being military targets, and the blue being energy or infrastructure targets. Now, you can see there's not many good places to be in the U.S. You can kind of go across, you'll see Hudson Bay, maybe the middle of Siberia, China, maybe the middle of the outback. There's a few places you might be okay, but Europe looks pretty bad. Anyway, though, that's maybe a risk that people think is gone, but with the rogue states that might acquire a nuke, it's still all electronic. Again, you never know about that Black Swan type event. Non-man-made source of environmental concern. We may have, we're here, this is the third planet from the sun. There are always solar flares going around, that's how we get the aurora borealis, those type of things. But we get a large enough flare, one again outside of our realm of experience, a Black Swan type solar flare. It could, of course, may not matter how much we prepped if, it's going to wipe out all existence on Earth instantaneously. But suppose it was a lesser one, then it might be something that it was good to prepare for. Of course, you always could have the deep impact style asteroids striking the Earth. You wiped out the dinosaurs, it could do the same to us. I don't know. That kind of thing. Beyond that, last environmental factor, is water scarcity. This is a map here put up by the University of Michigan. You can see the red areas are extreme scarcity, the yellow are moderate, and the blue are supposed to be water rich. Now, you look at this and you look at the United States. Now, we just had the worst drought in 100 years here in western Kansas last year. And the West is always fighting over water, legally speaking, and not, literally fighting like they may be in some parts of water-starved Africa. But, water is certainly something that everybody needs, and a shortage of it could lead to an SHTF type of event. Moving on to economic concerns. And here, I mean, there are monetary concerns and there are employment concerns, I think. Those are the two main ones I can conjure up. By monetary, I mean the money supply. I mean the Federal Reserve. I mean inflation, those type of things. The things that the Ron Paul group is concerned about, I don't agree with them on everything, but I do think their concerns about the effect of printing as much money as we have in the last few years is probably well-founded. To look for an example of that, you can see, look up, Zimbabwe in the last few years. You can see, this is from 2009. They have 2 loaves of bread cost $50 billion. That's certainly not very good. The gentleman buying his dinner with a stack of multiple stacks of money. And beyond that, here's a newer article from last year. Zimbabwe is rolling out the $100 trillion note. Now, I got a picture of one of these notes here. There it is. That's the $100 trillion note. Now, it's not a real one, but what is that worth? About $30 US, March of 2011. It's probably not worth, probably worth $10 now or less. In any event, does this cause instability? You betcha. You bet it does. What problems have they had? Well, they've had shortage of supplies, of course. They've had shops closed. They've had 80% unemployment. They have famine. They have widely spread cholera with 35,000 people infected. Their rivers are infected with cholera, famine, pigs slaughtered because of disease. They have kidnappings to people to get outside currency. You ask people in Zimbabwe, have you been through HSTF? They probably tell you, yes, we have. We've had HSTF. So monetary policy certainly can affect your other factors, and you need to be concerned about it. Now, I mentioned also employment, and this is a concern I have mainly because of the current free trade regimen, so-called free trade regimen that's in place across the globe, with multinational corporations taking advantage of this to their fullest. What we essentially have is a global race to the bottom in terms of wages. The most important component of any product is typically the labor cost. That's the highest cost for most companies. And people can bitch and moan about taxes and regulations being stifling businesses or whatever. There's a reason all these companies, American companies, have left, and it's not because of our regulations and taxes. Because certainly, if you go to China, you're going to find that they have plenty of regulations and taxes in China. But what they don't have is very high labor costs. And when you have people willing to work for a pittance of what we're working for a day, or Indonesia, or the most desperate people you can find, if the Chinese are going to strike, then we'll go to Indonesia, or we'll go somewhere more desperate. There's only one way to resolve that type of friction in trade terms, and that is that we have to be willing to accept a dramatically lowered standard of living if we want to compete with people who are willing to accept much lower wages. And that's what you're beginning to see happen in this country, and both parties are denying it, but that's what's going on. And is that going to make some people crazy? Yeah, it is. It's going to put pressures on every part of our country. It's going to put pressures on budgets as people make less money. It's going to put pressure on people who make things to sell them to us because we won't have any money to buy them. All those type of things. So I definitely think that can be a factor in gradual, although coming to theater near you, HSTF. So the last factor I talked about is governmental, and I don't mean by that Obama's the boogeyman or everybody's coming out to get us or something like that. I don't mean that at all. What I mean is just simply factors that would be governmental. They can be internal or external. It may happen gradually over a period of time, or it may happen sooner. But certainly, you've seen governments in which, if you were in Hitler's Germany, if you were in the wrong camp there, probably bad choice of words, but things were going to get bad for you real quick. Here you see from December of this year, indefinite detention bill signed into law. That is concerning a lot of people. Why is that? And then you have, here, this is not crazy, news sites. This is the Los Angeles Times. Police employ predator drones to catch a couple of criminals in North Dakota. Those are things that it's important in this country we be vigilant against any loss of our liberty. Now, it could be, governmental also, I mean external forces. So, should we get into a war with China, for instance, that may cause HSTF. Let's say you were in France or Holland in the 1930s, you might have thought, oh, we already had World War I, we had our peace treaties, Germany's not going to mess with us again. They've already suffered too much with their hyperinflation, whatever. We're safe from them. We'll build this Maginot Line, and we won't have any problems. Well, if the French were prepared, the people who were, they probably were glad that they did. Those would be external government threats. So, in any event, those are the things I think, are possible HSTF causes. And they're all related, again, to this Black Swan type event. Now, again, we can't predict, what might be a Black Swan. But, that's why we're preppers. That's why, again, all we can do is gain the skills and knowledge and perhaps some materials to which we can adapt to any of those problems that come up. And that's really the skill set and the materials that we want. So, BexarPrepper, did I answer your question? Well, not really. I mean, I answered it as if it's a trick question. Maybe you intended it as a trick question. I don't know. But I don't believe we can know what's going to cause HSTF. I think that's why we have to be preppers, is because we have to be able to adapt to whatever HSTF is. If we knew what it was going to be, it probably wouldn't be very difficult to prepare for it. So I think again, that's why it's important to be able to develop these skills, be prepared not to depend on our experience in the past. This is Western Kansas Prepper signing out.